Hello, YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode of Freedom Friday here on the Ohio Patriot Education Network YouTube channel. I am, as always, your host, AR the Ohio Patriot, and for today's episode, we're going to be talking about multiple topics, including balkanization, obviously, which is in the description bar. But for the main topic, for the next 5 to 10 minutes or so, I'm going to be laying out what exactly issue 1 is here in Ohio, doing a short explanation of that, and exactly why you should vote yes if you live in Ohio. Because at the end of the day, this is about protecting our Constitution from scumbag anti-gunners like Michael Bloomberg, George Soros, etc., from being able to screw over our gun rights in the future, whether it be a year from now, whether it be 2 years from now, with some stupid bullshit like BM 114, the same they pulled in there in Washington, or not Washington, Oregon, about a year ago or so, give or take. And the fact that when you have Bloomberg and Giffords that were fully funding that piece of crap legislation, you actually had it was only like $2.50 a voter or something like that is what it cost them to get like 1% of the voter base there to initiate the fuckery of gun rights in that entire state for everybody. To now they have to have people, going backwards and doing lawsuits and stuff like that. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I personally, not about having to sue people at this point, not about having to spend 10 years of my life having to get my gun rights restored because some fucking billionaire douchebag decided, oh, we can fuck over your state constitution now because you have a 50% plus one vote right now. So basically, the gist of issue 1 is this. You have currently, right now, in the state of Ohio, the way our state constitution stands. Well, okay, I'm going to lay out the groundwork before that, actually. So basically, this is what happened. In the past decade or so, you have had Democrats, who were some of the worst people here, by the way, ran some of the worst candidates in state history. Every single one of these people since August 2019, almost 4 years ago now, have been trying to attack our Second Amendment rights with unconstitutional legislation like red flag laws, universal background checks, etc. We've shut them down several times. This is exactly where I got started in the 2A fight in the state, and basically as a gun rights advocate, activist, etc. Constitutional type was back in 2019 when my own rights were under attack, is what it was. And then it expanded from there, and I'm like, I'm not going to protect just my own rights, I'm going to protect everybody's rights, is what it is. Because why not? And that's the thing. If we all work together, if we all come together, actually having people abide by the Constitution oath they swear to uphold, and if they're not going to do that, then they need to be removed from office under deprivation of law or some other misdemeanor crime that should be felony right now, you would actually have a better country overall. But that's the problem. We're not removing these people from office as soon as they are committing these crimes, because they are crimes, by the way. When you are actively trying to deprive people of their rights to keep and bear arms in this state or this country, you should no longer be a sitting politician at that point. You should no longer be a civil servant in any position of power at all ever again, because you should be in prison right now for at least 366 days of your life. And from there, you should be disqualified on the spot from ever holding office again, which is what deprivation of code law is. If you look at the actual definition of deprivation of code law, it basically is lowest charge, 1 year and 1 day in prison, and you can never hold elected office again. And then it goes 10 years, never hold elected office again, life imprisonment, speaks for itself, and then death penalty, depending on severity of the crime, is what it is. So basically, the thing is, back in around Obama's administration, second term there, 2012 or so, give or take, is when Ohio started going to this more reddish state, is what it is. And I'll freely admit, there's gerrymandering going on in the state from both parties, not just the Republican Party. And that's the worst thing that pisses me off the most, actually, about the Democrat Party here in the state of Ohio, is they will always try to blame Republicans for gerrymandering the state. Yet if you look at every major city from Columbus to Cleveland to Cincinnati and the counties they exist in, whether it be Cuyahoga County in Cleveland, Franklin County for Columbus, or Hamilton County for Cincinnati, et cetera, there, you have 4 to 6 extra seats in that county, or more for that matter in some cases, all of which are held by Democrats. Specifically, Franklin County, Columbus area, 11 seats, and 10 of them are held by Democrat Party. Why are there 11 people from one fucking county in our state house right now? That is retarded. I don't care. And again, I guarantee their bullshit argument's going to be, oh, well, we split them up into like X amount of fucking voters, like I think it's like 36,000 or something like that is what it is. And it's like, doesn't matter, dude. Doesn't matter. One county, one rep. It'd be simple as that. You get rid of 11 people off the bat, go from 99 to 88 entirely for the counties we have in the state. And then we actually have a better state constitution, or sorry, better state General Assembly for that matter, because you actually have true representation after that be the case. And that's the thing. You would see some counties fall Democrat, obviously. You would see a lot fall Republican if we did things correctly and we didn't have two-party primary systems anymore because of scumbag Kasich back in 2013 did that shit. Yet nobody really fought against that. And that's another thing too, by the way. People never fought against that, but yet it became a thing then because of that. And now we have two-party primaries in the state, whereas we should have Libertarian, Green Party, etc. And if we did have that kind of stuff, you would have, 6, 7, 8, 10 Democrats, whatever it is there from major city counties and stuff like that, having their little caucus in the state house is what it is. You would have Republicans have, some probably 20, 30, 40, whatever it is there. And then you would have the rest all be third-party candidates, is what would be in the different general assemblies then. So basically what it is since then, since 2013, give or take, you have had Republicans control the state. We become a red state because of that. You have Democrats knowing for a fact they will never, ever hold power in the state ever again. And so in doing so, they don't control the state house. They don't control the state senate. They don't control the governorship. They'll never hold any of these positions ever again as a majority party or a governorship, most likely ever again. And so they realize right now, their dying gasp of their dying empire, which, by the way, the Democrat Party of the state of Ohio actually requires a 60% amendment to change their own state party constitution thing. There's what it is. So they're just hypocrite assholes, what it is, dude. And so basically what it is you have currently Ohio is one of only, I believe, 9 states currently that has an under 60% threshold or 3/5 majority to change and amend our state constitution. This is what issue 1 is. If issue 1 passes, which is what we need it to do, you would have it enshrine a 60% threshold for all amendments in our state right now. You would also have to have, if you're going to do ballot initiatives in the state, whether it be abortion or anti-gun stuff or whatever the case be, you would have to go get 5% of the voters that voted in the previous election cycle in every single county, all 88 of them, to sign off on your shit. And if you can't get that, then guess what? Your fucking ballot is null and void then. You don't get it on the ballot is what it is. You don't get that amendment on the ballot at all. That being said, and this is the thing that people don't understand or are getting confused by is what it is in a lot of cases. And this is exactly why the Democrat Party does this shit, because they want people confused. They want people to vote no because they want Bloomberg and Soros and these other out-of-state anti-gun billionaires and globalists, actual Nazi collaborators like George Soros was back in Nazi Germany. They want Ohio to stay 50% plus 1 vote because if we have that and they can amend our state constitution easily, they're going to fuck with our gun rights pretty soon. They're going to do exactly what they did in Oregon or Washington State or any other state for that matter, where they don't hold a majority is what it is, where they know that they can use the state constitution to screw you over. And it's not just that either, by the way. You would probably have it be enshrined at some point. I wouldn't be surprised, because I've said it before and I'll say it again. Like, Chris Dorr brought it up here this week on Rumble and stuff with the Ohio Gunners organization, which is that they would basically do it with preemption and, constitutional carry, stand your ground, all stuff like that, do judge shopping and find like the most liberal ass judge in the state of Ohio to fucking say their bullshit is constitutional. It's clearly not. And something Dorr brought up that actually does bother me quite a bit, which is basically they would try to amend our constitution to allow for multiple judges to be out of our state Supreme Court. Right now we have, I believe it is 7 right now, because it's like 2 less than what the actual Supreme Court is then. And it's a 4-3 majority currently. It's 4 Republicans, 3 Democrats. All the Democrats, by the way, on our state Supreme Court right now should all be in prison for the shit that they pulled in the past year and a half or so. Whether it be with the map redistricting stuff, whether it be with a bunch of other stuff there, they were all openly committing deprivation of of law. They were all openly committing oath breaking to their sworn oath of office as a judge / Supreme Court justice at the state level. And so, yeah, all 3 of them should be in prison right now. All 3 of the Democrats. Plus that rhino sack of shit, Maureen O'Connor, who obviously you had CBS News do a hit piece with her ass, not here recently in the last couple of weeks is what it was, about this is why you should vote no on issue 1. And it's like, no, this is why you should have rhinos in prison right now And as I said on the channel before, I talked to my state rep last year about that, and I was like, why do you guys not remove Maureen from office then? Because obviously she was termed out through age limits, is what it is, at the end of last year. And his direct quote to me was, if you're going to kill the king, don't miss. We don't have the votes to actually vote her out with a 60%, with 60 yes votes is what it is. Which they had at least that many people that were Republican in our state house at the time. And it's bullshit that they didn't have enough to actually, you had a bunch of spineless ass rhinos that refused to actually remove a woman who was clearly violating her oath of office. It should have been impeached on the spot is what it is. Same thing with Democrats there. So anyway, as Dor brought up, you basically have them, if we have the 50% remain in place after August 8th, you would have them basically do judge shopping. They would fuck our Constitution over, most likely do a bunch of liberal shit, add, 4, 5, 10 to our state Supreme Court is what it is. Basically do exactly what Pennsylvania did, which is enshrine Democrats forever there in their state Supreme Court is what it is. And yeah, you would never have any gun rights battles go our way ever again. And it's just it's crazy. It's honestly insane to think about the people that are voting against this, and they're actually voting against their own interests, because all they're doing is they are showing their own hands, which is that they want, and this is the biggest problem I have with this whole thing. The biggest problem I personally have is Secretary of State Frank LaRose. He should have just kept his damn mouth shut about this whole fucking thing to begin with, dude. And the biggest issue I have with this man personally is, you're Secretary of State of the state of Ohio. You're supposed to be investigating voter fraud and stuff like that. I keep fucking bringing it to you, and you're not doing a damn thing to actually do it. And yet he wants to sit there and be like, oh, well, next week or so, I'm probably going to announce that I'm running for U.S. Senate now. Or you could just, I don't know, stop being a fucking constant career politician and do your actual job right now for the next couple of years as the Secretary of State of Ohio. And do it well. But yeah, his dumbass basically has flip-flopped multiple times. He first said it wasn't about abortion, and then he said it was about abortion, and that's when he brought a bunch of crazy-ass abortion on demand leftists out of the fucking woodwork, and these first-time voter kids and stuff like that probably shouldn't have voting rights in the state of this country, for that matter, to all be like, well, I want to have abortion on demand and without consequence, so I'm going to vote no on this. And then you got a bunch of people in the Republican Party that are like, well, I really don't like Frank LaRose, so I'm going to stick it to him by voting no against that. So you're actually voting to fuck over your own interest, whether it be Second Amendment, whether it be human life of the innocent and unborn, whether it be anything you care about for that matter in the future. Do you like to actually have freedom in this state? Oh, well, guess what? You're not going to have that if you vote no against the shit and keeping the 50% plus one vote margin. Because that's truth of the matter. You're going to have pieces of shit like Bloomberg and his Mama's the Man action cronies. You're going to have pieces of shit like George Soros and the fucking ACLU come out of the woodwork and create all kinds of psychotic amendments in the future. And it's going to do degradation after degradation. You think BM 114 in Oregon was bad, bro? Oh my God. Like, I've just big picture thinking, like, what these people would do at this point. And I've said it before, I'll say it again right now. If I was in their shoes, not only would the first thing I'd go for, obviously, to be fuck over, state preemption in the state of Ohio, and then, repeal constitutional carry and stand your ground through amendments. Then from there, it would basically be assault weapons ban, magazine ban, red flag laws, universal background checks, safe storage laws, any other thing that would be on their anti-gun wish list would all be in some amendment together, as it would be. Or it would even be multiple sets of amendments for that matter, where you'd have maybe one or two of those issues as one thing, and then you have another one as another thing, another one as another thing, et cetera, et cetera. And it would be, 4 or 5 issues maybe on the ballot at one shot, or it would be even, for that matter, like a war of attrition kind of thing, where it would be, let's say next May, we still have 50% plus one, and the first one would be, red flag laws, and then from there it would be universal background checks after that for the next election cycle after that. And, 2 election cycles after that, maybe it's like everything else then. And that's the thing, right? We shouldn't have to be forced into a corner where we are forced to protect our constitutional rights in this state, in this country. Because these globalist fuckers need to fuck off, is what it is. And this is exactly why I've said for some time now. We are heading towards balkanization in this country very, very hard. And it's shit like this. It's shit like what Bloomberg and Soros are doing right now to try to fuck over Ohio's constitution. That is exactly what's going to lead to a civil war in this country. And it might be Ohioans popping it off, honestly, when it's all said and done, dude. We've been a bellwether for every presidential race for the last, 60 years now or so. We rightfully picked Trump in 2020. And he did win, by the way. Biden fucking cheated 100%. We already know that shit. It's been proven at this point. With massive, massive voter fraud that can be easily proven. Same thing with that bitch Katie Hobbs here in the last election cycle where she cheated her way into the Arizona governorship. And the same thing with that piece of shit Josh Shapiro there in Pennsylvania. And that idiot John Fetterman in Pennsylvania, too, cheating his way into the U.S. Senate there. Or just like Sherrod Brown having his judge buddy almost 6 years ago put 300,000 purged voters from the Ohio voter rolls back on the voting rolls a couple days before the election cycle, and then Sherrod conveniently wins by about 260-something thousand people. So, yeah. And yet, in over 5 years now, Frank Lewis has been Secretary of State since then, still has yet to look into Sherrod Brown's cheat in 2018, man. Like, seriously, LaRose, I've called you out on multiple times on that one, dude. And you still have yet to do anything about it. Even though it could be easily proven. Hell, give me the fucking voter rolls from 2018. I'll go around to 14 different graveyards and find you the dead people from back then. And then it can be easily proven to remove this asshole from U.S. Senate then. Like, seriously, that's all it would take. Just give people the voter rolls, have them go around to a fucking graveyard and start checking grave sites and date of death years and stuff like that. And it can be easily proven. Very, very easily. Yeah, so did John Ossoff too. They're all scumbags, man. And that's the problem with the Democrat Party. If they know they can't, if they can get away with it, they will. And that's, and even going back to that, like what we're talking about right now with, voter fraud and stuff like that. Georgia, their shit is so compromised right now. And that piece of shit Secretary of State there isn't doing his fucking job either. Brad, whatever the hell his name is there. I think that's what his name is, if I'm not mistaken, his first name anyway. And he refuses to do anything until after the 2024 election cycle. Because he's been in forums with people like Bill Gates and shit like that recently. So anyway, yeah, it's just insane, dude. But one thing I did want to talk about today, which was this, so there's been an anti-issue one ad for quite some time now. That's basically and I'm going to say it like it is. These people that are behind the one person, one vote campaign are BLM and Soros shills. The one chick specifically, the black girl, that's the main one of them, works for basically a weird minority think tank. And she used to actually be, I think it was like second or third in command of the people trying to get Democrats elected in the state house for like 5 or 6 years of her life is what it was. And they want to sit there and call themselves partisan. Or sorry, it was sit there and call themselves bipartisan when they're 100% partisan people is what it is. It's like, yeah, dude, one person, one vote. You are a bunch of leftist scumbags, period. And that's why you have the Ohio, where right now? Yeah, you have Protect Women Ohio putting out the following ad today, and they're going to continue to do this. I think it's like a $2 million ad buy is what they did for this, which is new TV ad, vote yes on issue 1. Right now, Ohio's Constitution has a giant for sale sign on it. Out-of-state special interest groups think they can drop in and buy their way into our founding document. By voting yes on issue 1, Ohioans can protect our Constitution. Yes, that is true.
Promised you keep the bad guys away. Protect her. Now's your chance. Out-of-state special interests that put trans ideology in classrooms and encourage sex changes for kids are hiding behind slick ads. Don't be fooled. You can keep this madness out of Ohio classrooms and protect your rights as a parent by voting yes on August 8th. Keep your promise to her.
And then, of course, you got people being like, oh, what Washington lobbying group did you pay to make that thing happen, or whatever the case be? It probably didn't, actually. They probably just found somebody locally that can actually do editing, would be my guess. Because that's the thing, man. Like, just looking at that doesn't take a whole lot of experience to do that stuff, dude. Hell, I could have gone to college and got that degree in editing to get that done, probably. I was actually trying to do that when I got fucked over with my funding in college, and yeah, never got a degree path. That's what it was. So, but anyway, so yeah, basically, issue 1 must pass to ensure that we have 60% threshold after the fact, and become one of 42 states. Then, not just one of 9 that currently has 50% plus a single vote to change our state constitution. And the thing that really bothers me, and again, it goes back to these people, these leftists that are all, you know, completely just hive mind of a brain is what it is. And they'll sit there and put that stupid ass thing about like, oh, Ohio State 59, Michigan 41, Michigan wins, trying to say that it would be 41% of the state fucking over 59% of the state. And it's like, no, what it would be, and what they're referring to as the idiot county thing after that for having 5% of the vote on that one, it would be every county in the state of Ohio actually having their fucking voice heard for any amendment that wants to be on the damn ballot, is what it is, dude. And that's the thing, right? If you can't get in as a ballot initiative, then, okay, here's a wild idea. Go become a lobbying group in the state house, or just become a random person down in the state house like I have been. Go down there, hang out, be a yes or be an against or whatever the case be legislation that's coming up in various committees and stuff like that. And you can actually have your voice heard. And if nothing else, if you really think that that shit is that good or whatever the case be, needs to be enshrined into the state constitution or whatever, dude, then go to the General Assembly and get it done that way. But this is the problem. They don't want to do that stuff. They refuse to do that stuff because they know that most of the shit they're trying to push right now, whether it be literally allowing kids to be aborted at the moment of birth in this state, or whether it be like that, like the Protect Women Ohio ad said there, literally trying to push trans ideology on these kids, which is not only just trans ideology in that legislation either, by the way, in November. It is literally allowing my fucking 9-year-old niece to go against her father or her mother's wishes, be indoctrinated by some psychotic fucking teacher in her school system, and now they're like, oh, you're a boy now, right? Oh, you should go get a double mastectomy. I'll drive you to the fucking clinic now. That's what I'm worried about. That's who I'm protecting, is my niece from these fucked up individuals that shouldn't be in our damn schools anymore. And this is what I'm saying. Like, this is exactly why we have to vote it through. This is why we have to have yes on issue 1. It's to stop the psychotic nuts in our education system and every other system in our fucking country right now that they've screwed over and pushed all this shit into these kids' heads now. Push the communism, push the rules for radicals, garbage, etc. And now you have an entire generation that's now coming up, 18 years old, voting for the first time, and they're voting against issue 1. Because they're so indoctrinated by the shit that they're like, well, I should be able to do what I want with my body, except it's not actually your body. We've had this discussion many, many times about abortion. You literally have, if you're a female, you have a fucking uterus. That child is growing in your uterus. They have their own system. They have their own blood type. They have their own organ system. They have their own heartbeat. You know, that's why you have many states passing heartbeat bills, where you can detect that stuff by ultrasound at 6 weeks and know that you're pregnant. And that kid should be protected after that because they are a living human being, for God's sakes. And this is my biggest issue with these people right now. You have these groups behind it, these Soros NGOs, these fucking Bloomberg NGOs, etc., etc. These anti-gun groups. These dumbass students for gun control. I forget what their actual name is, but that's basically what they are. They're students for gun control is what it is. It's some group that basically sprung up that I guarantee is paid for by Bloomberg dark money during the last like 4 or 5 months or so. It was right during one of the breaks is what it was, like for spring break, whatever, was when they first came about then. So it'd be like April, May of this year, sometime in there. But anyway, the entire point of the matter is you have these individuals who want to keep Ohio as one of only a handful of states where they could easily change our constitution. And they know if they do that, they can fuck us over. They can fuck over our gun rights. They can fuck over our right to anything for that matter. And there'd be nothing that you could do that would allow that to be changed. The only thing that would be able to change it then would be having people like myself or some other group out there who takes that same 50% plus one vote margin and puts through our own amendment that would basically enshrine, like, no, Ohio is now a 60% constitutional amendment state or something like that. Like, that's what it would basically take at that point then. And like I said, God forbid we're not fighting, a bunch of anti-gun lawsuits then to try to put red flag laws, universal background checks, etc., into our state constitution, or fuck over our state preemption so you have a bunch of assholes and fuck like Justin Bibb up in Cleveland or that fucking dickhead Andrew Ginther down in Columbus pass their own local gun control crap there is what it is, and try to fuck over our major cities in this state so that now people like me couldn't walk into them with a fucking 30-round mag in our hand without being arrested for fucking various felonies, which, by the way, and as in itself, deprivation of rights of law, by the way. And that's exactly why every single one of these politicians that pull that shit should be immediately removed from office, cuffs slapped on, thrown in a prison cell, day arraigned in court, arraigned on a bunch of charges, removed from office, ever holding office ever again, and be put in prison for some amount of time of their life. Because that's what they're going to learn. That's the only way they're going to learn, in most cases, is you have committed crimes, you are done now. Which brings us to what I want to talk about in this episode besides that, which is balkanization. And I've talked about this many times on this channel under the, grandstands and stuff like that is what it is. Thing about balkanization is, most balkanizations would probably happen because of some kind of civil war, be very bloody, very violent, stuff like that. We could actually have balkanization in this country right now without a shot of her being fired, legitimately. You would just have red states split off into their own thing, you'd have blue states split off into their own side, and you'd basically, what you would have is you have two Americas at that point. You would no longer have a federal government at all. What you would have is you would basically have a bunch of states coming together, forming these mega blocks, whether it be a bunch of red states or a bunch of blue states, whatever the case be. They would be forming these bigger, coalition states, what it would be then, or essentially coalition countries, what it would be at that point then. And you would have what could be considered a council of governors in these states, where it would be, let's say like Ohio. Well, let's go ahead and say like Michigan, we were able to like flip over to red or whatever the case be. So it'd be like Ohio, Michigan, and a bunch of other red states around us, like Kentucky and stuff like that. And we would all form this big block. Maybe Texas would be in there. Maybe they'd be their own thing. Maybe you'd have like Texas and then like Louisiana flip red and go to their own little thing there, whatever the case be. And like Oklahoma joins them, maybe even for like another little mega block of things. And you would have like, 3-4. Sorry, my shit's dipping again. But anyway, as I was saying, you would essentially have, this mega block of, power is what it would be. You'd still have, governor's races, you still have General Assembly races and stuff like that. What would happen, though, is you would have a bunch of red states becoming much redder, being able to decide, like, hey, we don't want these, leftists, we don't want these liberals, we don't want these fucking, radical terrorists, Antifa type, BLM types, et cetera, in our states anymore. We have a legal right to boot their asses out of here. And the same thing would go with blue states. They could have the same power and stuff like that. You would have a bunch of these blue states, most likely your Californias and stuff like that, Oregon, Washington State, stuff like that, go even more anti-gun. They would go even more pro-criminal, and they would eventually destroy themselves. It would be like that movie Doomsday, where you had that city walled off, and then you had a bunch of people living there as cannibals and stuff like that. Because, that's what would happen, honestly. Truth be told, man, eventually humanity goes full cannibal. Especially if you're put into a place where you're so insane, you got nothing else to basically eat. You'll eventually, at least some section of the population will cannibalize each other. So, anyway. But yeah, we could basically balkanize right now in this country out a shot of her being fired. Of course, you'd have to have it be a peaceful divorce, which is what the federal government will never allow, because it would basically mean they would no longer exist as an actual entity in this country anymore. So you would have to have something happen to where it wouldn't their power and solidification wouldn't matter at all, and you'd basically go back to state governments and stuff like that, which could be done right now, honestly, at smaller scales, seeing as how every single state right now in this country has the ability to actually print our own currency, whether it be the Ohio dollar or the Texas dollar or the Florida dollar or the Georgia dollar or something like that, or even, the California dollar, which probably just is a picture of a giant pile of shit on the floor, is I guess, honestly, or shit on like a big fucking bag of shit on the sidewalk or something like that, like they have in San Francisco all the time. That'd probably be their actual dollar there. But yeah, we all have the ability to print our own dollars and our own coinage and everything else like that. That's one thing federal government can't take from us, is when states were enshrined into the, you know, union that is known as the constitutional republic we live in right now, you have us all having the ability to print our own money. It's been done throughout history, actually, and even it's been done within our own governments for that matter. Back in, specifically, it was the 1830s, you actually had, see if I can find out exactly where this coin was from. Hang on, I'm trying to find the date on this. Yeah, it was back in 1837 during Martin Van Buren's presidency. You actually had hard times tokens printed. This was back during a time period where you had our country being a flux and basically be indebted because of various things. Mostly it had to do with our original revolution in this nation and other, bad debts that various presidents occurred before Van Buren, to where it led us into a 1820s, 1830s shit show. And you had to have them basically print these tokens that could be redeemed for various items and stuff like that. And instead of hard cash, you would basically give them a Van Buren token, is what it was. Which, ironically enough, leading up to that, you actually had leading past that and going into 1847, this is what a penny looked like back then. So I can get it closer here. Turn it around there. We can actually see the 1 cent on there. Yeah, this is an 1847 penny. This is something I inherited from one of my elderly relatives about 2.5 years ago or so, give or take. Same thing with the Van Buren token. And that's the thing. You have history like that nobody really realizes exists to this day. And the big thing with these Van Buren tokens, this isn't the only kind that they have right now, where it's like the ship on one side and then it's the like a bunch of dudes and a boat on the other side. There's a couple different versions of it. But yeah, basically what you would do is you'd have people back then going in and buying, a bag of grain or a bag of rice or whatever it was, and they were just like, here's a token for the time being. And it was essentially an IOU back then. And I think that's what it would be today, honestly, if we did our own currencies. Now, granted, you could actually have some states be smart about it and start enshrining, gold and silver as legal tender in our state constitutions. And then if you had that done, you would actually have better states overall. Because the thing is, Texas already has that in their state constitution. So does Colorado, before they went all leftist and stuff like that. They might take it out at some point, who knows? But yeah, at least those two states have it. And I think a few others do too. I think Vermont maybe one of them. I want to say there's like 15 or 20 overall that have it right now in their state constitutions. And I'd like to see Ohio be one of them too, as well, for that matter, obviously. But the thing of it is, it's like, even if you don't go like gold and silver as like, legal tender or whatever the case be, you would still have, depending on balkanization and things like that, you would still have a lot of states go into a various collaboration, is what it would be. You would have a barter and trade system naturally occur in many cases. It's like, oh, you need, 300 troops to help protect your, southern border or northern border, or whatever it is, from some other state then. Okay, we'll supply you with these 300 people or whatever here, but you owe us, 500 bags of rice and beans and stuff. So, it'd be something like that, honestly. Or it'd be like, oh yeah, we'll loan you these people, but you're feeding them the entire time they're there. That stockpile of food is coming out of yours, not ours. So, Could be anything like that, honestly. And that's a big thing. The problem right now that we have in this nation, I believe, when it comes to possibility of balkanization, civil war, etc., is that it honestly should be organic, but it's not. You have a lot of globalist X factors right now involved in it, whether it be the shit more recently with Biden calling up, I think it was what, 3,000 troops to go over to Europe and basically, essentially, like, back up the European nations and stuff like that. It's like, why the fuck are they backing them up, dude? Unless you're going to go commit more shit against Russia and basically take us into a hot World War III at this point. Which, again, I think, honestly, truthfully speaking, if we go down that road of insanity, you will see America start to fracture even worse. You will see America have a natural civil war then, because of the fact people aren't going to put up with that shit. We're not going to be. They're going to have a lot of people out here that would be like, no, you're not sending my son, my nephew, my niece, whatever it is, my daughter, my granddaughter, any of my grandchildren, whatever they are, over to war, over to fight in some bullshit draft. And I think that's where the line would be drawn, honestly. And that's the thing. Right now, I have a 16-year-old nephew. That kid could easily be drafted if something happens. He's fighting age. He has the ability. He's a pretty big dude too, for that matter. And no chance in hell, and I'm not gonna let him go to war, dude. I would fight like the devil to stop that. And as you should want to fight the devil, which is what the Democrat Party is right now, which is what the leftist agenda is right now. It's literally a battle of demons versus God and angels. I don't know about where y'all are at, man. I'm on the side of our Lord Jesus Christ, God, archangels, angels, etc. So, anyway. I was really hoping Corey would show up today, but he didn't, I don't think. I think maybe he's taking a nap is what it is. Probably. Let me go check the Discord real quick. No, he's still not on there. Okay. So, yeah, he's probably taking a nap then. I'm starting to get pretty hot again, so I'm going to turn this fan on. At least on low. Yeah. Got that heat all over my neck now and sweat monger. That's the only good thing about having a big beard, is it allows for the sweat not to be dripping down much further than that. It just gets caught up in the beard hair. So, anyway, but yeah, needless to say, one thing I do want to bring up though before we finish off today, with the potential for balkanization and potential civil war and stuff like that, there would be X factors in a civil war. Obviously, you would have people like China that are already embedded in our country. You'd have a lot of their standing armies finally be known after that. You would have a lot of Islamic terrorism in various, doing various jihad shit is what it is here. They're already in multiple states across this country. You have chapters in places like the Peak Skills there in New York doing training. There's a bunch here in Ohio doing training in various mosques in major cities and stuff like that, in the basements of them and things like that. So, yeah, not a good thing at all. Not to mention, from what I heard about probably 8 months to a year ago, give or take, I guess there is weapons caches in this nation, someplace in stash houses. I don't know where the stash houses are, obviously. But supposedly there's stash houses with a bunch of full auto, AKs, ARs, etc., and a bunch of grenades and stuff like that in them. So, and apparently I guess that's all like China/Russia munitions and stuff like that. So, who knows? But either way, if that be the case and that is true, like, ooh, buddy, I would not want to see those in the hands of our enemies for sure. So, yeah, not a good thing at all, man. And that's one thing you have to worry about as the X Factor kind of groups like that. Or it'd be something like the Soros NGOs would be another one of them for that matter, because they'd be importing people like crazy to our border again to invade and be in another standing army. And that's another thing too, by the way. People always talk about how we're not supposed to have standing armies in our country under the Third Amendment and stuff like that. Yet, when you look at every fighting age male that has crossed our border in the past 2.5 years or so, give or take, under Biden's dipshit ass, they are 100% standing armies in every single state right now, dude, of illegal aliens in this country. So to sit there and claim we don't have standing armies is absolute bullshit. We do. They're all illegal in this country. They all have no business, no legal right to be in this nation, is what it is. So, yeah, not a good thing at all. And it's what scares me, honestly. And what scares me even more, going back, full circle to Ohio's Constitution here on August 8th, knowing that these leftist fucks could have a chance to fuck us over and fuck our rights over and disarm us, and knowing that I and others would be potentially disarmed against these fucking puppets of these puppet masters is what it is. All these illegal aliens, all these criminal organizations, MS-13, various Chinese military, etc., and knowing we would have nothing to fight back against them, like, dude, that scares the fuck out of me right now. You're supposed to be fighting tyranny and protecting your nation, both from enemies, foreign and domestic. And yet when you're inviting them in and becoming domestic only anymore, it seems like, and then you're trying to disarm your citizenry, that seems pretty tyrannical to me, man. I don't know about anybody else out there, but that's just pretty tyrannical to me personally. So, anyway, not a good thing, man. And like I said, I believe we're definitely heading towards a civil war in this country. I mentioned it on the Twitter account this morning. I could see it happening before the end of the year, honestly. I could see us legitimately by December of this year being in an actual hot civil war in this country, depending on how things go leading up to this whole thing. Because that's the thing, right? We got about 4.5, 5 months now until the end of December. And it all depends, man. It really all depends on the kind of fuckery going on right now, federally and locally and everything else like that. And it really depends on, how much you want to have these globalist fucks like Biden, etc., fuck with Russia and try to escalate war with Russia using Ukraine as a proxy country is what it is. And I believe, truthfully, we're getting worse and worse. You have that idiot Zelensky everywhere, fucking, less than 55 inches tall. If you haven't seen the meme, it's pretty good. It's you must be 55 inches to start World War III. And it's a picture of Zelensky like right next to a 55-inch thing. He's like just that shy, basically. So, yeah, that guy's a fucking ass clown for sure, man. And this is the problem when you have America trying to be the world police and trying to install regimes across other nations and stuff like that, which is exactly how you got Vladimir Zelensky to begin with. It was basically an installation by the U.S. government as their little fucking puppet guy there is what it is. The same bullshit they tried to push in Venezuela a few years ago with Nicolas Maduro, the guy that was against him there, that Juan Guaido guy, who looked like legitimately an even more psychotic demon version of Obama, honestly, if that's even possible. But yeah, that Juan guy looked legitimately creepy as fuck. And they were sitting there trying to be like, oh, well, this Juan guy won the presidency in Venezuela. And it's like, pretty sure he didn't. And you're trying to install a puppet is what it is, dude. Now, granted, is he worse or better than fucking Nicolas Maduro? And the answer is they're both about the same, honestly. They're both scumbag pieces of shit. You need a new person entirely in that position of power is what it is there. So, yeah. My personal gripe, honestly, with the whole thing is America doesn't need to be the world police. We should have never been that thing during any part of my life, especially not my entire life, pretty much right now is what it is, since the 1980s. And it's time for us to stop acting like we're fucking world police, dude. It's time to start bringing our people home. It's time to start protecting our own borders, starting with the southern and northern, both for that matter, whether it be Mexico or Canada, together there, from invasions. And if nothing else, deal with this shit accordingly. Deal with it how it should have been dealt with a long time ago. If you're sitting there trying to cross our border illegally, you're openly committing an act of war at that point. You should be treated as such. And it's really as simple as that, honestly. So, I'm not going to go into detail on that, obviously, because y'all know how I would go into detail on that. But yeah, if you're ever looking at the act of war, dude, you know what it goes from there, and it goes to to things going hot, and I'll leave it at that, really. So, anyway, but yeah, basically for Ohio locally, if you live in Ohio, vote yes on issue 1, either in early voting right now or on election day on August 8th, and help protect the Ohio Constitution from these scumbag special interests like Bloomberg, like Soros, like their proxy NGOs and stuff like that, whether it be the ACLU, whether it be Moms Demand Action, whether it be Students for Gun Control, whether it be fucking, dipshits from March for Our Lives, etc. there, or whether it be other assholes like fucking Planned Parenthood and stuff like that, because those are also proxies of these groups, man. They're the ones that are funded by these billionaire organizations and stuff like that. And enough is enough of it, honestly. Enough is enough of these people trying to fuck over our state constitution to become a bunch of demociders. And for those who don't know what democide is, it's basically death by government. And unfortunately, in this case, actually, I guess it wouldn't technically fall under democide because it wouldn't be death by government per se. It would actually be death by the Democrat part. Well, I guess technically, I guess it kind of could technically fall under government because it would be death by the Democrat Party is what it would be, actually, which they are part of the government, obviously. So, yeah, I think it would technically qualify as democide then. But yeah, it would be them being killed off by the Democrat Party is what it is in this country. And, when you look at the shit that they're pushing right now, and you look at the various criminal things that they've been doing, we look at the pedophile rings that exist out there throughout our world right now, and you notice who's behind a lot of them. It's all the same people, man. It's all the same Democrat people, man. And then you wonder why Hollywood did a writer's strike this week. And it's like, yeah, makes a lot of sense now, dude. Because it allows them to have more and more time to creep on kids, is what it is. And I find it very ironic that they were talking about, like, oh, but we want to combat AI, but yet they won't actually admit you should just shut down AIs entirely. It's just like, oh, no, I don't want to use my likeness for AI in the future, is what it is. It's like, or you could just, again, have them shut down AI technology entirely, and we'd be better off entirely in this country because we wouldn't have fucking Skynet rising up out of Google, which is what we're going to see right now, honestly. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if what would be the central hub of Skynet already exists right now under the Google moniker currently. If we already had some fucking crazy, like, humanoid-looking fucking robot piece of shit AI that's just sitting there plotting its fucking time and being like, okay, how do I, have the fucking nukes go off to nuke us is what it is. And that's what's scary, right? Like, all it takes is something like that, man, where you just have, like, nuclear winter. You just have the AI control everything or whatever the case be, and all of a sudden they just decide, like, oh, yeah, let's go full Skynet and just hit the fucking kill switch then and just start launching nukes to other countries so that those countries just start nuking us is what it would be then. And you'd have legitimately the plot of Terminator, Terminator 2, Terminator 3, Terminator 4, 5, 6, etc. So, just a scary, scary thought, man, honestly. And that's the crazy part. Like, the worst part of this, people are embracing artificial intelligence, which to me is just insane, man, because it's like, that's the worst thing you could do right now above everything else, because you're essentially sitting there and saying, okay, we're going to let AI go do its own thing to where it's then replicating and becoming faster and smarter and stronger and everything else like that. And it's like, at what point is enough, man? Which does make me wonder, though, when it comes to AI, like, would an EMP stop AI? Or would it be AI being the ones that create the EMPS or EMP-esh event being something similar to that show Revolution, where you basically, if you never pay attention to that show, by the way, if you've never watched into that show, the end of the series, actually, when it ended its second season, which really pisses me off, because then they made like a third season comic book for it, but it should have been a third season of actual, television is what it is. Basically, the gist of the plot line there was, you had these little nanite things that were created by humans is what it was. And what happened was, they basically created some crazy AI with the nanite things, and all these nanites came together and essentially were like this humanoid form thing at the very end of that series that was controlling the suppression of all electronics across Earth. And unless you had like one of these little necklace things that you could pop on, and it would be able to use technology and stuff like that then. because it would essentially be, it would almost be like an anti-EMP kind of thing if that'd be the case, because it would do like a suppression field or something within like, I think there was like a couple miles or something is what it is, or like a half-mile radius or something like that. And it would allow for cars to run again. It would allow for, tanks to run again. It would allow for everything like that to happen and everything along those lines. And you would have basically a better, superior fighting force versus other people then. And overall, that's basically what was being suppressed, was like the whole grid, essentially, is what it would be. So, yeah. Sorry, I was reading the comments here. That is actually a great comment. Lied to us about everything we've ever happened to this nation and want us to trust them. Exactly. And that's the problem right now. Actually, interestingly enough, and going back to why the Democrats and leftists hate the Republican Party here in Ohio, in the last couple of days, the Republican Party of Ohio, the state house there, introduced a piece of legislation while they were on vacation here that would basically allow for term limits on federal Congress now, and would do so through a convention of states. And that's exactly what I don't like with people, man, because they know that they're against them. They know that they are actually for doing things, which is kind of ironic, actually, because obviously it wasn't the entire Democrat Party here. And it makes sense because you have several people in our General Assembly currently that have broken their own term limits by simply flipping to the other side of the General Assembly then, after they were termed out in the previous one. So, anyway, of course, they're not going to be for it because, they don't even do it themselves at the state level is what it is. But either way, shit's about to go crazy, I think, in this country. And I am not looking forward to seeing how close this vote's going to be come August 8th. I'm hoping, honestly, that 60% of the people in the state understand that, like, shit needs to get done that's, like, 60-something% or damn close to it, man. And then we can basically just tell the Democrat Party to go fuck themselves after that. And nothing else, like, gets done that way. But even if it's, like, 51, 50%, something like that, man, of course they're going to cry foul and be like, oh, you didn't get the 60% for a 60% voter threshold. Again, doesn't matter. You didn't need to. Go fucking cry harder. Go whine some more Dems. We don't give a fuck. Honestly, I'm fucking over you people at this point. Too hot to deal with your bullshit anymore, dude. I'm probably going to go put an ice pack on my head here in a few minutes after I finish this episode and take a nap from there because I'm pretty tired still from today. Had to go chiropractor and then got some water and stuff. Had to deal with a bunch of stupid motherfuckers today. It was not fun. And then, of course, my bones and joints are aching like a motherfucker because I was overdue for my medication injection, and I took that a little bit ago here, so that's making me a little sleepy as well. But anyway, needless to say, there are ways to balkanize this country right now that would not be bloodshed in the streets. Unfortunately, nobody, I believe, is going to be on board with doing that. Maybe there will be some, but probably not enough to actually make it legitimacy. So it would end up being a legit bloody civil war after that's all said and done to cause it. And for the most part, who's to say what's going to cause it? Could it be a state constitution being fucked over, like Ohio, where we finally just say fuck it and spark something off? Maybe. Only time will tell. Just to be clear on that one, I just want everybody to be clear on that one. Just that anybody watching this, any Fed boys out there that may watch us here in the future, I am not saying that I would initiate anything. I am simply saying others would be like, fuck it, it's go time now. And a lot of those people will be the military vets of this country, honestly. Of which I am not. Just so we're clear on all that right now. It would be the people that would be like, no, I fought for this country. I got fucked over by this country. And now they're ready to basically, like, just finally have it out, really, is what it is, with the people that fucked them over. So, and then naturally you'd have like a grassroots initiative that would join them. And at that point, that would be people like me as a secondary people is what it would be then that would join in on the whole thing. So, but yeah, we wouldn't be the ones initiated. It would just be the followers. It would be for those people that actually have military experience then. And that's only if it would get to that point where we'd have to go into, battle. Personally, I'd rather have it be lawsuits, but then again, I don't want to have to deal with fucking, 4, 5, 10 years in court systems and stuff like that, having to get back our rights. That should never be taken from us in the first place because little fuckknuckle sacks of shit like Michael Bloomberg or actual fucking Nazi collaborators like George Soros are trying to fuck over our rights because they want us dead, because they want us in Agenda 2030. So yeah, fuck them. Anyway, that's about it for today. We'll be back. I'll probably be back here actually in a little bit, next like hour or two maybe, or sometime tomorrow, one of the two, because I'm gonna do my first year update for the game I've been playing. That's something I set up about a week ago or so. I still haven't done it. It's been over a year now since I've been playing that game in the main account, and then it's been, I think, a couple days from now it'll be like a year for the second account that I started in that game then. But yeah, a lot of interesting things have happened in that year. Obviously, really, really close right now to finally being like the final troop set that I can be in that game. Unfortunately, it takes forever to get that done, and it'll be probably another 4 to 6 months or more of just grinding it out to actually get enough required things in there to get the actual technology unlocked and stuff like that. So, which sucks ass, but it's either that or go basically pay to win, which I don't have money, honestly. So I'm not going to do that. And unfortunately, that's how a lot of people that are T10s right now have gotten a T10 in that game because they did pay to win. And it's like, yeah, well, if you can afford to do that, man, good on you. But a lot of us can't, so we'll just grind it out for another, 6, 8 months, whatever it is, until that happens. That's kind of why I don't want us to go to Civil War before the end of the year, because it's like, kind of want to still game is what it is, and I know that would not be a thing anymore, because now it would just be me gaming in real life then at some point then, and who's to say I'm going to be, whatevering at that point then. Florida became 27th. Yeah, they said that same bullshit with the blood in the streets thing and the Wild Wild West and all that crap like that here in Ohio when we became 23. And never fucking happened, dude. The only blood, actually, ironically enough, the only blood in the streets is the Democrat hell pockets in this state that are run by fucking pieces of shit like Justin Bibb, etc., that are a bunch of criminals killing us as people there. Because you have, again, like I mentioned with the whole nightclub shooting this week and stuff like that, it's a bunch of people that cause gun-free zones because you can't go legally armed into a nightclub or into a bar in this state or this country. And so you have, by default, disarmament there on constitutional bullshit. And you're having people basically be victimized because only the criminal's going to have a gun then. And even in that case, the douchebag that did that shooting had to run out to his fucking vehicle and go get the gun out of the trunk then. So, anyway. Oh, actually, before we leave this Freedom Friday today, I do want to mention that they finally apparently caught the guy that did that serial killing spree up there in New York at the beach. I think it's like the Legal Beach or whatever it's called there. Yeah, it's some dude in his, I think they said late 50s, early 60s, something like that, and is an architect of some kind or something. So yeah, that was a dude that apparently was dumping bodies on that beach and putting them in basically mounds and shit like that for couple decades there, and it happened like I think they finally found like the kill site like about a decade or so ago, give or take. And I guess since then you've had some detective guy basically do a task force thing, and they finally caught the guy, I guess. So, good is what I'll say on that one. It's like took you long enough, honestly. It kind of reminds me of the Green River Killer back in the was the 60s, 70s or so, and then the guy went all the way up to the 90s and shit, and it finally took him like 4 decades to catch this motherfucker. And it's like, god damn, dude, like I know technology and DNA evidence and stuff like that was like non-existent back in those days, but Jesus, like you would think you'd eventually fucking find the guy like way before that. So anyway, yeah, I don't know how anyone could be a serial killer or anything like that in the year 2023 and not have like massive amounts of DNA left at crime scenes everywhere is what it would be. So, Then again, I know there's supposed to be something break in here about, I think it's the smiley face killers or something, is what they call them, which is them leaving like smiley faces on like trees and shit around their kill sites and stuff. And a lot of people think it's actually police departments in many cities like Chicago and stuff like that are just killing various people that are, you know, career criminals and shit like that, and just dumping their bodies and leaving it as like a quote unquote smiley face kill and shit. So who knows? Only time will tell on that one. Wouldn't surprise me, honestly. Wouldn't surprise me at all. And that's the one thing, right? Like they try to disarm us. They want us disarmed. They talk about only how the police and military should be the only ones armed in this country, and yet don't realize that these same idiots that are for disarmament are going to be the first ones against a fucking wall when a dictatorship takes over, is what it is. So, anyway. Still wondering about Corey, considering I told him, like, yesterday I was going to do this today, and he said he was on board for it, but he never showed up, so it's whatever, man. It's fine. It worked out better, honestly, because it allowed me to do my whole spiel here is what it was for the last hour and be able to go into the whole thing. So, anyway, like I said, though, I'll be back. Let me think now. It's about 6:30 right now, my time, so probably sometime tomorrow, like 4 or 5 o'clock, something like that. Maybe we'll do one for the first anniversary of me playing that game, The Walking Dead Survivors. And then from there, it'll basically be... I'm hoping Honda does a Sunday chat then, because we'll do that on Rumble, obviously. And then I think that'll be the next time I talk with the boys. Then it'll be Honda's chat on Sunday, potentially. And I won't do a Sunday show. Most likely won't do anything on Monday unless something huge kicks off. And then I'm going to conserve like the last couple hours of what I have on this account right now for the end of the month, which is around, I think, the 24th or 5th or whatever is when my account resets. So I'll do something here in the next couple weeks for sure, but most likely it'll be just that one stream on Saturday, and then it'll be probably not until sometime next week I'll do something then. We'll obviously do the second episode of Buckshot Thursday next Thursday. That first one with me and Corey, I think, was good. If anybody else wants to join the panel for the next one, you know, I'll throw the link out there. Or if you just want to hit me up on Discord, I'm always on NA's Discord and stuff like that. So if you want to hit me up and be like, hey, can I get a panel link or whatever, I'll throw one to you. So, yeah. I don't know what we'll talk about for that particular episode. Maybe we'll just we might start doing Buckshot Thursday with like some Bearing Arms articles, whether it be pro 2A or anti 2A stuff going on and whatnot. So, anyway. Actually, one thing I thought was interesting before we leave today, going back full circle all the way around to the vote no thing here in Ohio, which is obviously you need to vote yes to 60% is what it is. So there was some douchebag in downtown Canton, right by the park where I get water at, who about a year ago, give or take, had a bunch of Tim Ryan signs and a bunch of pro-Biden signs and everything else, stupid bullshit leftist crap. So you know the guy's a Democrat voter all over his yard there. Same dickhead now. So instead of actually just having their thing be like vote no on issue 1 or whatever the case be, this other sign that was created by these fuck knuckles now is issue 1 is bullshit. Vote no on issue 1. It's like, no, issue 1 is constitutional. Y'all are a bunch of unconstitutional fucking cunts. And if I had the money, if I had a couple $1 million myself right now that I could run as ad buys, I would make my own commercial. And I would directly call the people behind one person, one vote for the BLM terrorism that they are, for the fucking Soros and Bloomberg puppetry that they are, is what it is. And it would be like that whole thing where they're doing the scissor thing for the state constitution there, and it would just be like pictures of them being like sliced in half then or whatever the case be. It's like, and it would just drop down and be like, fuck your BLM Soros shit, dude. Fuck your Antifa-ism, etc., etc. Be like, vote yes on issue 1. Screw the radical Democrats. Or something nuts like that. That's what we need to do anymore, dude. You need to do like hardcore fucking commercials against these people like that, man. So, anyway. Still looking for people, by the way, to do debates against. Nobody wants to step up, though, is the problem. Obviously, people that would step up would be on the same side as me on multiple things like guns, pro-life, etc. So it wouldn't be a real debate then. And that's the thing. I'm sort of trying to look for somebody that's like sort of a moderate on these topics, you know, that maybe could be switched to the other side or whatever in that debate. But the problem is that anybody I would find is just like some hardcore nut that one would either fuck my channel over by trying to channel strike us by saying some stupid shit is what it is, and they get me channel struck for, or it would be they wouldn't even want to debate at all because they're just like scream at the sky type people is what it is. Because again, they don't really have the brain capacity to understand like what a real argument is, and so they'll just sit there and like kick signs and try to beat people up and shit like that all the time. Which is kind of like what that one chick did down in Columbus some years ago, where you had that little kid holding the sign about like this is what a baby looks like at X amount of weeks in. And it was this girl, it was the Burger King employee, just fucking flipped the fuck out and just started like kicking their signs and trying to beat up like some 13-year-old kid or whatever it was there. And it's like, Jesus Christ, lady, seek mental help seriously. And as it turned out, about a year after that, I was down in Columbus visiting my sister, and the local affiliate down there, the NBC4 News, whatever it is there, was running that story as like an update to it or whatever. And they were talking to the mother of that girl, who I say girl, but really in reality, she was like a 25 to 30-year-old woman at the time or whatever. And she's like, yeah, my daughter is like really low functioning autistic. And it's like, stop trying to blame that for your fucking child being a nut lady. Like, she clearly needs mental help. If she's not going to be able to function as an actual adult female on her own, maybe she doesn't need to be out in society. Maybe she needs to be in a fucking mental institution someplace getting serious psychological treatment like she should be having right now. And that's the problem with these people. They don't actually want to get their fucking family the help that they need. They'd rather just sit there and try to blame society for like, oh, we have a mental health crisis. And, oh, you shouldn't own guns because of mental health. And like, shut the fuck up, man. No, we have a mental health crisis because you have America being so fucking saturated by big pharmaceutical companies shit. And then you have all these forever chemicals in our fucking water supply that are turning the freaking frogs gay. You know, seriously. Gotta go for Alex Jones for a minute there. But no, seriously though. It's like all that shit causes just insanity, dude. Like, you can't tell me that somebody drinking a glass of water that has like 87 different chemicals in it of various, you know, levels of whatever there, whether it be, you know, a birth control pill or fucking some kind of street drug or some kind of antidepressant or whatever the case be, it's not able to be filtered out of the water supply. That them re-drinking that shit's not going to fuck up their brain and screw up like the wiring capacity of their actual neurons firing and everything else like that. So yeah, of course it does, dude. That's exactly why I go get water from where I go get water from here, because that shit is pure. I've had that tested. Other people have had it tested too, and it's like the purest water you can find in this area, honestly. That's why a lot of people go to that park to get that water, because it's legit pure stuff versus the crap coming out of a lot of taps in this state, in this country, especially in the major cities, for God's sakes. Like, oh man. I refuse to drink tap water in major cities in this country without some kind of filtering of it, because it's just that bad. And it just tastes like crap too, for that matter. Like, you can just tell, like, just like between the stuff I drink at the park right now and the stuff I drink in a major city in this country, whether it be the state of Ohio or any other state for that matter, you can tell the difference between like what is a pure spring water type of drink and what is basically like refiltered shit over and over again. So anyway, that's about it for today, though. Like I said, we'll be back most likely tomorrow, sometime early afternoon. If nothing else, I might do something like way late tonight or something like that. That'd be the case. Maybe do that stream like midnight, 2 a.m., something like that if I'm awake. I just want to bullshit for a little bit or something. But yeah, other than that, most likely sometime tomorrow will be that next stream, and then it'll be sometime next week will be the next stream after that, then Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever then. Like I said, unless we actually have World War III breakout in that time period between now and then, like, most likely won't do anything until then. So, anywho, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. To all the Ohio voters out there, I implore you, please, God, Vote yes on issue 1. Enshrine a 60% threshold for our state constitution. Stop the Soros NGOs. Stop the Soros dark money. Stop the Bloomberg dark money. Stop the Bloomberg anti-gun fuckery of our state. Allow us to maintain the good pro-Tory laws we already have on the books. Preemption, stand your ground, constitutional carry, all that good stuff like that. Don't force us into a fight in the courts. Because if you force us into a fight in the courts, it'll probably become a fight in the streets at some point. And that's just a fact of the matter. So don't do it, man. Don't fuck over our state. Don't keep the 50% plus one vote. Up it to a 60% plus one vote. Allow for every county in the state to have their voice heard for amendments. Work with the General Assembly to pass things that you want to see passed. And if they're not going to pass things you want to see passed, then maybe think about moving to another state that is more inclined with your leftist ideology. New York is one. Michigan is one. California, Oregon, Washington State all have open places there. You can buy a house, rent an apartment, and move there. They have jobs there in many cases too as well. You know, find someplace else, man. Stop trying to fuck over our red state. Stop trying to fuck over our state constitution. Stop allowing leftist special interest groups to have any say in Ohio elections ever again. And it's as simple as that, really. Hope you guys enjoy this episode. I'll see you all in the next one. Later.